All right, hey guys, so you bullied me into it. I don't want to make this video, but you followers are so pushy, you feel like I have to make a response to all the gun control debacle going on. Here goes, my reluctant response. The difficulty I see, and why I don't even want to jump into something like this, I see two different sides of the aisle who really effectively want the same thing. What do we want? We don't want a bunch of dead kids on the news anymore. No more crazy sadistic wackos butchering people. That's what we both want, but we have very, very different opinions on how to get there, right? So there's the right, there's the left. Ban all guns, or hey, no, unrestricted use of the Second Amendment. So either way, we're lobbying for the exact same thing, but I see both sides screaming at the other with a very, very different argument, and both have sets of statistics that seem to contradict, and nobody seems to be listening to each other, in which case I think my dad told me that this is the age of non-accountability. He's been saying that for so long, the age of non-accountability, that we're going to shirk responsibility, blame something else, someone, something. And what I want to do is start off with my preliminary thoughts on gun control, and then I want to shift the subject to something a little bit closer to home that I think is more of a root of what all this is, why all this is happening. Something a little bit more pragmatic that you and I can do about it rather than just eliminating guns. So first off, let me give you some preliminary thoughts on firearms. One is establishing gun-free zones actually makes havens for where bad guys and these twisted people like to flock to. Gun-free zones, all of these attacks, these massacres are happening in gun-free zones. That's attractive to the psyche of a bad guy. I'm a firearms and tactics instructor. The way that I make my living is I teach good guys how to beat bad guys with firearms. That's how I feed my family, right? Tactics and firearms instructor. Been doing it quite a while. And as an ex-special operations guy, military guy, war veteran, etc., blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this is my wheelhouse, is how bad guys think, whether it's terrorists or whatnot, and how to eliminate that. And what I've found is if you have some crazy guy on a rampage with a firearm, the best way to stop that, maybe the only way to really stop them, is have a good guy who can stop that person from hurting people. That's what I want to do. And the whole nature of the Warrior Poet Society, that's the channel you're on right now, Warrior Poet Society, is to have people capable of violence who don't really want violence. We love people, we love our communities, and whether we're civilians, cops, or military personnel, we really just want to help. We don't want slaughterings to happen, and we recognize throwing up a gun-free zone sign isn't going to stop a shooter. Be like, oh my God, I didn't know this was a gun-free zone. So sorry. Like, we need to be able to stand in the gap. And so that's what warrior poets do. We're good dads, and we love our spouses, and we're good members of the community. And when it's time to do work and deal out violence, we're able to flip that switch and be able to defend people. That's the whole idea of the society. Now, kind of back to the gun control measures or debates. Establishing gun-free zones, and really any level of legislation where you try to make it illegal. Drugs are illegal, but it doesn't stop drugs, right? When you make firearms illegal, it doesn't stop the use of firearms. And now we're in a country, and this makes us really different than all the other countries in the world, in that we have a Second Amendment. It's been around a very, very long time, and now we're at the place where we may have more guns than people in the United States. That's a lot of guns. And regardless if you disagree with that, we have far, far more guns per capita than any other country in the world. So lots of guns. So even if you made firearms illegal in whatever capacity or regulated, all you're really going to regulate is the good guys' use of them. The bad guys already are well stocked in what's already available out there in the market, whether it's an open market or it's a black market, underground market. They still have access to it. So really, in gun legislation, because of the realistic place of where we are now, you're just effectually disarming the good guys and their capacity to stop the bad guys. That's a really big deal. Here's a final point, a third point. Crazy people are going to do what lunatic, twisted, sick, crazy people are going to do. So even if they don't have guns, they're going to use knives. They're going to use poison. Man, that could be devastating or brutal. They could use an airplane and fly it into the Twin Towers, killing 2,996 people and injuring over 6,000. Is it 6,000 or 4,000? It's a whole bunch of, yeah, 6,000. Or Nice, France, you commandeer a vehicle and run down 86 people, which were killed, and over 400 injured. Crazy, sick, twisted people are going to find a way to brutally massacre, but what we don't want to do is disarm the good guys that could take them out. Now, here's another side note. Guns and knives are stupid. Meaning, they just sit there. They don't do anything. It's just Here's a knife. It doesn't do it. I can leave it right there and be like, all right, it's not leaping off the table and stabbing me in the jugular. And same with guns. Guns aren't killing people. People are killing people. What it is people are becoming far, far more unhealthy, far more imbalanced, and I want to know why. And here's one key instance, because active killers, these massacres, it's unprecedented. It's taken off like wildfire. This wasn't happening in our grandparents' generation, and now it's an epidemic, and it seems like all these folks, when all of a sudden the media keys in on one, the other future active shooters watch this in awe. They see all the attention and they are like learning from each other, copycatting. And so each one seems to get worse and worse and worse as there's like some evil diabolical competition for sick, twisted massacres. Anyway, that was a little bit of a side note, but it's true. That's why we don't want to glamorize and make these people popular. All right, guys, so I promised you kind of a more pragmatic route because I think what we're undergoing is we want to blame guns. We want to blame a quick fix that we could just ban and get rid of the guns when really the problem isn't, again, the gun or the knife, which just stupidly sits there. It's the actor. It's the person that's getting crazier and more imbalanced. In short, we're facing a sociological problem, something devastating. And I think here's one big clue. Well, the Christian in me wants to be like, well, it's just sin, and many of you guys are going to get pissed off and not like that. I get it. Okay, whatever. But let's key in on this piece. 1 in every 4 children grow up in a household without a father. This is what we're seeing here is the disintegration of the family unit. It's all just going away. In no time in the U.S. history have we seen something so devastating. Maybe in World War II, when because the dads, it wasn't because they were fleeing, it's because they were dying in battle. But now we don't have that kind of thing going on. Anyway, kids that grow up in a fatherless home are twice as likely to become obese. Twice. 4 times higher risk of being in poverty, 7 times more likely for teenage girls to become pregnant if they don't have a dad. 7 times higher teen pregnancy rate. They're 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 2 times more likely to commit suicide. 80% of all adolescents in psychiatric homes come from fatherless homes. They're 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances in a fatherless home, 279% more likely to deal drugs and illegally obtain firearms, and they're 20 times more likely to go to prison. I'd say we have a really, really big problem. And it's not like the government can just be like, oh, what we need to do is ban gun like that. Okay, it's a little bit more difficult than that. We have a problem, and it's not the government's fault. It's not like the government can come fix it any more than you can be like, my marriage is falling apart. Government fit. No, it's our problem. It's our fault. It's your fault. The government can't fix your marriage. The government can't love your kids. It starts with you and me and my wife. We're interested in, having neighborhood kids over to our house. We're interested in being there for our kids, loving our little boys who aren't going to grow up to be sick, twisted kids because they're going to be loved. They're going to be coached. They're going to be encouraged. They're going to be disciplined. We're going to raise our boys, right? We're going to invite neighborhood kids over to our house, and they're going to see us and how we interact. We're really wanting to do adoption if we can pay for all the ransom fees to be able to afford one, and thinking about foster stuff as well. I want to be a good dad. That's a real big deal to me. And so what I'm just urging and kind of red herring and kind of shifting our gaze a little bit off of guns is because we're really missing key issues. We're blaming a tool when it's our fault, right? Food for thought. Guys, train hard, train smart, and I'll see you later.